So now coming to the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. The statutory control over the narcotics drugs was being exercised under the Opium Act 1852, the Opium Act of 1878, and the Dangerous Drug Act of 1872. The Dangerous Drug Act of 1930, these three were the only provisions up till the 1985, that is the Opium Act of 1852, Opium Act of 1878, and the Dangerous Drug Act of 1930. The provisions of those enactments were found to be inadequate because of the passage of time and the development in the field of illicit drug traffic and drug abuse at the national and international levels. Some of the important deficiencies in these three acts were found that the scheme of penalties under the previous act were not sufficiently deterrent to meet the challenges of the well-organized gangs of smugglers. The Dangerous Drug Act of 1930 provided only maximum term of punishment of only 3 years with or without fine and 4 years of imprisonment with or without fine for the repeat offences. Further, no minimum punishment is prescribed in the present law, as a result of which the drug traffickers have been sometimes let off by the court with the nominal punishments. The country has for the past few years been increasingly facing the problem of the transit traffic and the traffic of drugs coming mainly from some of the neighboring countries and destined mainly for the Western world. The existing central law did not provide for the number of important central enforcement agencies like narcotics, custom, central excise, etc. They not all together could be involved in the investigation with the power to investigate offences under the said laws. These all lacking with these lacuna since the enactment of the aforesaid mentioned three essential acts, a vast body of international law in the field of narcotic control has evolved through the various international treaties and protocols. The evolution of the international law in the field of narcotic control has been instrumental in shaping the legislative landscape of the drug regulation in India. The government of India's participation in various international treaties and conventions reflects its commitment to address the global challenges posed by narcotics and psychotropic substances. The government of India was the participants in the various international treaties and conventions that reflects to its commitment to address the global challenges posed by the narcotic and psychotropic substances. The government of India became the party to several international treaties and conventions concerning narcotic control, including the Single Convention on Narcotic Drug 1961 and the Convention on the Psychotropic Substances 1971. These treaties imposed obligation on the member state, Single Convention on the Narcotic Drugs and the Convention on the Psychotropic Substances. These treaties imposed obligation on the member state to adopt effective measures for the drug control, including regulation, enforcement, and international cooperation. Over time, the international community recognized the need for the coordinated efforts to combat the global drug problem. International law evolved through the various protocols and agreements aimed at strengthening cooperation among the nations, promoting demand reduction strategies and enhancing law enforcement capabilities. Despite India's participation in international treaties, certain obligations remain unaddressed or inadequately covered by the existing domestic legislation. These provisions related to the drug trafficking, money laundering, precursor chemicals, and psychotropic substances were not covered under these existing provisions. The absence of the comprehensive legislation hindered India's ability to fully comply with the international commitments and effectively combat drug-related crimes. Also, there was no comprehensive law to exercise control over the psychotropic substances in India in the manner as envisaged in the Convention on the Psychotropic Substances 1971, to which India has also been the part. The Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985 was enacted to bridge this gap and align India's legal framework with the international standard and the best practices in the drug regulation. In view of these, there was an urgent need for the enactment of comprehensive legislation on the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. which should consolidate and amend the existing laws relating to the narcotic drugs, strengthen the existing control over the drug abuse, considerably enhance the penalties, particularly for the trafficking offenses, make the provision for the exercising effective control over the psychotropic substances, and make provisions for the implementation and international conventions relating to narcotics and the psychotropic substances, to which India was also a party. According to the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Bill that was introduced in Parliament to consolidate and amend the law relating to the narcotic drug, to make the stringent provisions for the control and regulation of the operations relating to the narcotic drug and psychotropic substances, to provide for the forfeiture of properties derived from or used in illicit traffic in the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, to implement the provision of the international conventions of the narcotic drugs and the psychotropic substances and for matters connected with. The Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substances Bill was passed by both the Houses of Parliament and received the assent of the President on 16 September 1985. Further, the Act was amended from time to time in 1988, 2001 and 2014. I would like to show you the PDF copy of this NDPS Act. Then after we will come further to our content. So this Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance Act 1985, this is the copy of the Act as it is. So this is the updated up to the 3rd of January 2022. So you can see this has the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 2A, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter and 5 and chapter 5A and chapter 6, and there are the 83 sections under these. So there are the 6 chapters and the 86 sections under the Act. So in the first section, that is the chapter 1 is the preliminary, that is the short title, extent and commencement. Chapter 1 is definition, power to add to or omit the list of psychotropic substances, so definitions. And then chapter 2 is authorities and officers. So who is the controlling authorities? Central government to take measures for preventing and combating the abuse and illicit traffic in the narcotic drug. Officers of the central government, which officers will be involved, and the Narcotic Drug and Psychotropic Substance Consultative Committee, officers of the state government. Then chapter 2A, National Fund for the Control of Drug Abuse, National Fund for the Control of Drug Abuse, annual report of activities financed under the fund. Chapter 3 is the Prohibition, Control and Regulation, prohibition of certain operation, prohibition of certain activities relating to property derived from the offense, power of the central government to permit, control and regulate, power to control and regulate the controlled substances, power of a state government to permit, control and regulate narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances not liable to distress or attachment, restrictions over the external dealing in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances, special provisions related to coca plant, coca leaves for use in preparation of flavoring agent, a special provision relating to cannabis. And then chapter 4, that is important for us, offenses and penalties related to narcotics and psychotropic substances, punishment for contravention in relation to poppy straw, punishment for contravention in relation to coca plant and coca leaves, punishment for contravention in relation to prepared opium, punishment for contravention in relation to opium poppy and the opium, punishment for embezzlement, that is false claim or false giving the bluffing, punishment for contravention in relation to the cannabis plant and cannabis, punishment for contravention in relation to manufactured drugs and preparation. So these all what are the contravention in relation to psychotropic substances, punishment for illegal import to India, punishment for external dealing in narcotic drugs and substances, punishment for allowing premises to be used for commission of an offense, punishment for contravention in order of 9A, punishment for certain act or licenses or his servant, punishment for consumption of any narcotic drugs or psychotropic substances. So even consumption was punishable. Punishment for financing illicit drug and harboring offenders, punishment for contravention of section 8A, punishment for attempt to commit offences, punishment for abatement and criminal conspiracy. And then preparation, enhanced punishment for repeated offenders or previous convicted, even death penalty in certain offences, punishment for the offence for which no punishment is provided, no suspension or remission or continuation of any sentence awarded under the Act, factors to be taken into account for imposing higher than the minimum punishment, application of section 360, security for abstaining from the commission of offence, presumption of culpable mental state, constitution of a special court, offences triable by the special court, appeal and revision, application of court to the proceeding before the special court, transitional provision, offences to be cognizable and non-bailable. The offences under the Act are cognizable and non-bailable. Offences by the company, power of court to release certain offenders on the probation, power of court to publish names, places of business of certain offenders, what shall be the procedure, power to issue warrant and authorization, power of entry, search, seizure and arrest without warrant or authorization, power to seizure and arrest in a public place, power of entry, search, seizure and arrest in offences relating to coca plant, poppy and cannabis plant, procedure where the seizure of goods liable to confiscation not practicable, duty of landholder to give information of illegal cultivation, then duty of certain officials to give information of illegal cultivation. So these all, power of attachment of crop illegally cultivated, power to stop and search convenience, condition under which the search of person shall be conducted, power to undertake controlled delivery, provision of code of criminal procedures, disposal of person arrested and the article seized, how to deal with the seized article, power to invest officers in the certain department, relevancy of a statement under the circumstances, presumption from possession of illicit article, police to take charge of article seized, obligation of officers to assist each other, report of arrest and seizure, report of seizure of property, punishment for vexatious entry, failure of officer to comply with the duty, inconvenience at the contravention of provision of this Act, liability for illicit drugs, substance, plant, article and conveyance to confiscation, confiscation of the goods used for concealing illicit drugs or substances, confiscation of the sale proceed of illicit drug or substances, procedure for making confiscations, power to tender immunity from the prosecution, immunity from the prosecution to addicts volunteering for the treatment, presumption as to the document in certain cases, power to call for information as commission of the offences. Then 5A is the forfeiture of illegally acquired properties. Those who have illegally acquired properties through this selling of the or any of the misconduct of the narcotics and psychotropic substances, how to forfeiture their property, the competent authority, identifying the legal acquired property, seizure or freezing of illegally acquired property, management of properties, notice of forfeiture of property, forfeiture of property in certain cases, burden of proof, fine in lieu of forfeiture, procedure in related to certain trust procedure, then certain transfer to be null and void, constitution of appellate tribunal, then appeal, notice or order to be invalid for errant description, bar of jurisdiction, competent authority and appellate tribunal to have powers of civil court, information to competent authority, certain officers to assist, power to take position, rectification of mistake, finding any other law, service of notice and orders, punishment for acquiring property, release of the property in certain cases, then the miscellaneous protection of action taken in good faith, central government, the state government in regard to the international conventions, power of the government to establish center for identification, treatment, etc. of addicts and for supply of the narcotic drug and psychotropic substances, recovery of sums due to the, this is another important section where the for the drug addicts and their management, the provisions, recovery of sum due to government, bar of jurisdiction, then transitional provision, power of central government to give the direction, power to delegate, power of the central government to make rules and notification to be laid before the parliament, power of the state government to make rule, application of custom act, application of drug and cosmetic act not barred, saving and state of a state and a special laws, repeal of saving, power to remove difficulties. These all are included under this act. And now details of this are down below. This contains around, this is not very long act, it has only 54 pages. So all these things has been defined, what is the cannabis, what all, importantly I will go to the definitions, that is the what is psychotropic substances and what is the narcotics. So the act says, as per the act, you manufacture drug. What does the manufactured drug means? All coca derivatives, medicinal, cannabis, opium derivative of poppy straw, any other narcotic substance or preparation which the central government may have in regard to be available information as to nature or to decision, if any, under the international conventions. So the derivative of coca, that is cocaine, medical cannabis plant, opium derivative and poppy straw concentrate are the manufactured drug, apart from those which are as per the notification of government. Then what is narcotic drugs? Narcotic drugs means coca leaf, cannabis, opium, poppy straw, and includes all manufactured drugs. So, and what is opium? What is opium derivatives? These all. And what is psychotropic substance? Means any substance, natural or synthetic, or any natural material or any salt preparation of such substance or material included in the list of psychotropic substances specified in the schedule. There is a long list of drugs specified in the schedule of the psychotropic substances. So these all mentioned under this Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act. This act actually needs to be gone thoroughly by all of you. I will suggest you to read this act thoroughly. Power to add or omit from the list of psychotropic substances. Authorities and officers, central government to make the measures for preventing and combating abuse of illicit traffic of the narcotic drugs. So what is central government authorities? What all recommendation? Who shall be the officers of narcotics and psychotropic substance abuse? What is the consultative committee? Officers, state officers. Then the National Fund for the Control of the Drug Abuse. Who are the funding agencies and how to for these these drug abuse cases. Annual report of activities and prohibition of certain operations. No person shall cultivate any coca plant, cultivate the opium poppy, or manufacture, possess, sell, or purchase any of the narcotic drugs, psychotropic substances. So these act has been prohibited. Prohibition of certain activities relating to property derived from the offences. Power of the central government to permit and control and regulate. These all are in the provisions has been mentioned. Power to control and regulate the controlled substances. What is controlled substances? Any controlled substances in production or manufacture of any drug, psychotropic substances, it is necessary to or expedient so to do in the public interest. Power of state government to permit, control and regulate. So these all has been mentioned under the narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances not liable to distress or attachment. Restriction over the external dealing in the narcotic drug and psychotropic substances. A special provision related to coca and the leaves and the preparation of the flowering agent. Then the offences and penalty that I will come after. So this in this way, this is the all the complete detail about the Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act in this PDF. So I will suggest you to go through. This is a list of the drug that has been mentioned as the psychotropic substances. You can see this list has total around this list has total 150, I think. It's 110 only. So 110 ZT, that includes I think 140, something like that. So this is a long list of the drugs that has included under the psychotropic as a psychotropic substances. So salient features of the NDPS Act are that it repealed the Opium Act 1857 and the Opium Act 1872, 8 and the Dangerous Drug Act 1930. So basically this act repealed all the previous act, Opium Act 1857, Dangerous Drug Act 1930. And the third is the important that I already showed you, that what is narcotic drugs. Narcotic drugs means coca leaf, coca from which the cocaine is obtained. This is the picture showing the coca leaves. So I will go in detail when we will talk about the narcotic and psychotropic substances. There in that chapter we will talk details of the effects, their side effects, their clinical features, ingredient, mechanism of action and everything. So coca leaves, cannabis plant. This is the cannabis plant, picture of cannabis plant, that is bhang, hemp, that is ganja is obtained from that. Then the opium, this is opium plantation, and the opium, this is poppy seed, poppy fruit of the opium, poppy capsule. This is the lancing process through which the opium is obtained from the plant. So this all has been included under the narcotic drugs. And then the what is the psychotropic substances? Psychotropic substances, already told, are the psychotropic substance, any substance, natural or synthetic, or any natural material, or any salt or preparation of such substances, or the material included in the list of psychotropic substances. There are around 110 substances included in the schedule, like LSD, tetrahydrocannabinoids, amphetamines, alprazolam, diazepam, phenobarbital. So these all included under the psychotropic substances. Then the act prohibits the cultivation of psychoactive plant except for the medical and scientific purposes. No person shall cultivate any coca plant or gather any portion of the coca plant or cultivate the opium, poppy, or any cannabis plant, produce, manufacture, possess, sell, purchase, transport, warehouse, use, consume, import interstate in India or export from India, or transship any narcotic or psychotropic substances except for the medical and scientific purposes, and in the manner and to the extent provided by the provisions of this act, or the rules or the order made thereunder. In a case where any such provision imposes any requirement by way of license, permit, or authorization in accordance with the terms and conditions of such license, permit, or authorization. So with the license, with the proper permission, and with the medical and scientific purposes, they may cultivate or they may perform such other function. Otherwise, everyone has been prohibited to cultivate the coca, opium, poppy, or any cannabis plant. Correct? Now the penalties that I have organized it to make it simplified. What are the penalties involved on the contravention of the Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act? So penalties, that is punishment for the contravention in the relation to the poppy straw or the prepared poppy straw or prepared opium. So if the quantity is small, so I will come to the quantity. What are the quantity defined for different types of Narcotic and Psychotropic Substances Act? So for the small quantity, the punishment is 1 year with or without fine of 10,000. Between the small quantity and commercial quantity is the 10 years or with or without fine of 1 lakh, and for commercial quantity it is 20 year with or without fine of 2 lakhs rupees. Punishment for contravention in relation to the coca plant and coca leaves is 10 years and 1 lakh rupees. Then what is embezzlement? Embezzlement or theft of the illegal dealing with respect to opium by the cultivator of the NDPS, or external dealing in NDPS, or financing illicit trafficking and harboring offender. Embezzlement, theft, or illegal dealing with respect to opium is punishable with the 10 to 20 year of punishment and fine of 1 to 2 lakhs. Punishment for cultivation of the cannabis plant and the cannabis in contravention of the act is punishable with 10 years and 1 lakh rupees. Then the produces, then it is a common punishment of small quantity, it is the 1 year, and for the larger quantity, moderate small to commercial quantity is for 10 years, and then with or without 10 lakhs 1 lakhs of fine and 20 years of punishment and up to 2 lakhs of the amount punishment for the commercial quantity if the person produces, manufacture, possesses, sell, purchases, transport, or export interstate uses cannabis. Punishment for contravention in relation to manufactured drug and preparation. What is manufactured drug? The drugs that are getting manufactured with respect to the cannabis, coca, hemp plant, or the opium products, or any chemical alteration that I was talking, designer's drug, we will come later about this. And punishment for contravention in relation to psychotropic substances, that includes if a small quantity, so this punishment, if a small to commercial quantity, this, and then if the commercial quantity, then this punishment. Then punishment for illegal import of it to India, export from India, or transshipment of narcotic drug and psychotropic substances, then the similar type of punishment according to the quantity will be given. Then the punishment for the external dealing in the narcotic drug and psychotropic substances, then imprisonment of 10 to 20 years with a fine of 1 to 2 lakhs. If the punishment for consumption of any narcotic, this is important, even the consumption of the narcotic and psychotropic substances, any narcotic or psychotropic substances is punishable with imprisonment for 1 year with or without fine of 20,000 rupees for cocaine, morphine, and heroin. and other than that it is 6 months with or without fine of 10,000. This is the provision. Punishment for financing illicit traffic and harboring offender is with imprisonment of 10 to 20 years with fine of 1 to 2 lakhs. Enhanced punishment for previous conviction. If someone has been convicted again, then there is the punishment of 1.5 times of previous conviction and the fine. Then death penalty for the certain offences after the previous conviction. Certain cases death penalty may be also be given if a person has been convicted of commission of or attempt to commit abetment of criminal conspiracy to commit any of offences punishable under section 19, 24, 27A, or offences involving commercial quantity of any NDPS Act, is subsequently convicted on commission of or attempt to commit abetment of criminal conspiracy or an offence in the following two cases: engaging in the if he has been subsequently convicted for the engaging in the production, manufacture, possession, transportation, import or export of the listed NDPS and the financing above of any of the activities. In those cases, the person may be convicted with the death penalty. Okay, and this is the last slide for the today, in which here this is the what is the commercial quantity of a drug. So commercial quantity, a small quantity, small, between the small and the commercial quantity, and the commercial quantity. So this is the list of the commercial quantity for a particular drug. This is the narcotic substance, hashish. It is the commercial quantity is 20 kg. Opium is 10 kg. Amphetamine and methamphetamine is 1.5 kg. Morphine, codeine, heroin and thebaine is 1 kg each. Cocaine, LSD and tetrahydrocannabinoids are 500 gram each. Salt and preparation of psychotropic substances are about 1500 grams. So this is all the punishment will be given if someone is dealing with this quantity. So punishment is higher, and accordingly I told you this will be the punishment. Commercial quantity is the punishable with maximum 20 to 2 years of 2 lakhs of the fine. So with this, thank you so much for your patient listening. I think this was quite lengthy class. Thank you so much. Thank you.